Hi everyone, Carlos here. I've been wanting to make another video on the Yakuza / Like a Dragon series for quite a while now, and came up with this video a few weeks ago, and that is Yakuza games that are only available in Japan. Now, before we start, I want to say first that this video is being written before the RGG Summit that is taking place on September 24th. So this video may become outdated and might not age well, but hey, let's do it now while we can. And let's just get started with one of the most famous games to be stuck in Japan, Yakuza Kenzan, or in Japanese, Ryuga Gotoku Kenzan. Kenzan was released on March 6, 2008 exclusively on the PS3 and came after Yakuza 2, which released 2 years before on the PS2 on December 7, 2006. This was technically the third game, but obviously this is a spin-off and was the first game on the PS3. Kenzan is a samurai spin-off set in the 1600s Edo period time, specifically in 1602, and in this game you play as Miyamoto Musashi, who is obviously played by Kiryu Kazuma. Obviously, since it's taking place during the Edo period, you won't see Kamurocho, Sotembori, etc. But instead you are in Kyoto, again during the Edo period. I would talk about the plot, but I still haven't beaten the game yet, and it's been a hot minute since I have played it, so sadly I forgot, sorry. But since the game's release, nothing new came of it. It released and that was it. No remaster, no remake, no nothing. Though the managing director of Sega Australia, Darren Macbeth, or however you say it, said there was no plans of Yakuza Kenzan releasing as they were focusing on the release of Yakuza 3. This game has also been in some controversy due to people thinking that Haruka was a prostitute in this game, which is absolutely false. I'm not going to get into it in this video. I will just link a video by Yakuza Archive channel in which they talk about this topic and debunk all that. As of today, if you want to play this game, you can find copies of it on eBay for quite cheap, or you can emulate it on the PS3 emulator, RPCS3. But again, because it was only released in Japan, the game will only be in Japanese, but there is a video guide with English translations by KHH Subs on YouTube, which was the way I was going through and understanding the game. As of recently though, RGG recently did a livestream on their channel where they did a livestream based on Kenzan, and this has led people into rumoring that Kenzan might be getting a remake, and with Ishin getting a remake and finally releasing in the West 2 years ago, it's quite likely. We'll just have to wait and see either at the RGG Summit or sometime in the future. Next we have Kuroyo Ryuga Gotoku Shinsho, or in English, Black Panther Like a Dragon New Chapter. This game was a PSP spin-off of the mainline Yakuza games in which you play as the protagonist Ukyo Tatsuya, or as I call him, Baby Nishiki, because let's be honest, they both look like Nishiki. Come on, am I right or am I right? Anyways, this game was released on September 22nd, 2010 exclusively on the PSP. This game was co-developed by RGG Studios, but was mainly developed by Sin Sophia, who are mainly known for the game Death Jam, and for any old school wrestling game fans, they were known as Aki, and they made the most famous wrestling game, WWF No Mercy. This game has a lot of elements to Death Jam, with things like the camera being in a fighting game arcade style, and the combat is modeled after Death Jam. As of this writing, I'm actually currently playing through this game, and so far I love it. I did have some trouble on the 6.5, but that's mainly because I have a skill issue. This next part, I'm going to talk about the plot of the story. If you don't want to be spoiled, please go to this timestamp to avoid spoilers. The main plot of the story is that Baby Nishiki here basically tries to rob the Chinese mafia and tries to fake being part of the Tojo clan, but he ends up in a fight with not only the Chinese people in the office, but also an actual Tojo clan Yakuza, and he ends up killing the Tojo clan guy and then is later kidnapped by the Kuki family and is forced to fight an event called Dragon Heat, and the Kuki family tells Tatsuya that He has to win 10 matches in a row, and if he wins all 10 in a row, then they will let him go. But if he were to lose any matches, then the Kuki family would report him to the police for murder. Although it turns out that he didn't actually kill him and somebody else did, so basically someone framed him for murder. Unlike Kenzan, where it's only in Japanese, an English patch by Team K4L for both this and the second game are officially available on their website. You just need your own ROM of the game and download the patcher from their website. The English patch works on both the PSP emulator, and it also works on the original PSP hardware and or a PS Vita. So while officially it's still stuck in Japan, you can now technically play it in English now with this new English patch, so that's a nice happy ending. Now, I was gonna go by release date order, so after Great, it was gonna be Kurohyou 2, but because of how mysterious these two games are, I decided to put both of these into one entry. RGG Mobile for Great and RGG Kizuna were two free-to-play mobile games focused on card-based combat, kind of like how the modern day RGG Online does card-based combat as well. RGG Mobile for Great is actually referenced by name in the second Kurohyou game. Another quick spoiler for the main story, but for Kurohyou 2, here's another timestamp if you care about spoilers. In the main story, when being acquainted with a fake Kiryu Kazuma, a longtime fan of Kiryu will give you a code for RGG Mobile for Greed, and that's really cool that they made that reference. Sadly, however, this game only lasted from February 23rd, 2011 through April 25th, 2013 when the servers were shut down for the game. Now talking about RGG Kizuna, there's almost nothing I can say because the game had the most pathetic lifespan ever, only lasting from March 26, 2012 through August 31st, 2012. It shut down the same year it was released. Apparently, Kizuna was basically like RGG Mobile, but Kizuna was more multiplayer focused, and the art in the game was more deliberate and kind of like the Kurohyou games. The likely reason as to why Kizuna shut down fast was likely due to oversaturation. Shout out to Gokudoni for that info I just said. I do believe that reason and do think that Sega was overkilling it with the marketing of the Yakuza series. Sadly, unlike the previous two games, both of these mobile games are completely lost media. No APK files have ever been released, and even if there were, again, the server shut down over a decade ago, so it would be completely impossible to play it unless someone made a fan server to bring it back, kind of like WiiLink and all the channels on the Nintendo Wii. You can still visit the RGG Mobile for Grease website via the Wayback Machine. Shout out to Gokudoni again for that info. But other than that, as of 2025, both games are completely lost media and will probably never resurface. You had to have been there to experience it. Now we have the sequel to the first Kurohyou or Black Panther game, Kurohyou ni Ryu ga Gotoku Ashura Hen, or in English, Black Panther 2 Like a Dragon Ashura Chapter. As I just stated, this game is a sequel to the first Kurohyou game and is the last of the Kurohyou games. This game was released on March 22nd, 2012 in Japan on the PSP, just 4 days before the release of RGG Kizuna, and was published by Sega and again developed by both RGG Studios and Sin Sophia, mainly Sin Sophia. I still haven't played this game as I'm still playing the first one, but what I do know is that you once again play as Ukyo Tatsuya, who actually has a different voice actor in the game. His voice actor in the original game was Kengo Kora, but in this game he was played by Takumi Saito, who also played as Tatsuya in the TV series that Kurohyou had. Again, I haven't played this game yet, so I can't tell you how he sounds in my personal opinion. Unlike the first game where the only town is Kamurocho, Kurohyou 2 adds both Kamurocho and Sotenbori in the game. I also know that the Yakuza type enemies and street encounters are the toughest sons of bitches ever. You don't believe me? Watch Devil Leon 7's video on it. Just like the first game, there is an English patch for this game by Team K4L if any of you want to play it. Same steps as the first game, though it's a different patcher, and obviously you have to use Kurohyou 2 and not Kurohyou 1. One other thing I want to mention is that the main song Born to Be Wild by Shonan no Kaze is a fucking banger. Like, listen to this. Please listen to this song, it's such a banger. In the first game's main song is a song called Muppet by Rize, or Rise. I don't know which one is correct, sorry. Anyways, on to the next game. Not gonna lie, I had just remembered this game while I was writing the part for the entry that comes after this. Thank God I remembered. Anyways, Yakuza 1 and 2 HD Edition is an HD collection of the original Yakuza 1 and 2 that was released on November 1st, 2012 on the PS3 and was released on the Wii U on August 8th, 2013. This collection was released almost 1 month before Yakuza 5 came out in Japan, which Yakuza 5 released on December 5th, 2012. Anyways, the main differences of these remasters versus the originals is that the remasters are now in HD, meaning higher resolution. It also has faster loading times when you install it to the PS3 hard drive. It also allows you to organize your item box at the phone booths. Plus, it's also now in widescreen. This was also the first and only game, at least at the time, the Yakuza series appeared on Nintendo platforms until Yakuza Kiwami came to the Switch in 2024. The reason why was because this collection did not sell well on the Wii U. Mainly because number 1, it was the Wii U and only sold like 20 units, and number 2, these were ports of old games that were not only already available on the PS3, but it wasn't a new game and likely people had already played it and people weren't interested in buying a game that they already had on their PS3. The Wii U version only sold 1,800 copies. Yes, you heard that right. 1,800 copies only. And because of that, RGG would not bring Yakuza games to Nintendo consoles for around 11 years until, again, Yakuza Kiwami released on Switch on October 24th, 2024. And according to RGG, it sold like hotcakes, and later Yakuza 0 Director's Cut would be announced in the Switch 2 Direct and released the same day the Switch 2 release. And now, in November, we will be getting Kiwami 2 on Switch 2, plus an upgraded version of Kiwami for the Switch 2. So yeah, I can't wait for more Yakuza games to come to Nintendo systems. This collection has never been localized in the West, and I don't know of any English patches that exist, but if you do know, please mention it in the comments. And if you want to play this game today, you can buy copies of either the PS3 or Wii U edition on eBay or something like that. So yeah, you still can play this game, or if you don't feel like wanting to learn Japanese just for this, then you can either play the original PS2 version or just play Kiwami instead and not have to waste your time with all that. But yeah, on to the next game. Yes, I know what everyone is about to say. Carlos, you dumbass. Ishin has been out in the West since 2023. Why is Ishin on the list? It's not stuck in Japan. Yes, I am aware and I have played Like a Dragon Ishin and have beaten it. But I want to talk about the original Ishin, which was released on February 22nd, 2014 on both the PS3 and PS4, with Like a Dragon Ishin, the remake in quotations, coming out on February 21st, 2023 on Xbox, PlayStation 4 and 5, and PC. Or if you bought the digital deluxe edition, it released on February 17th of that same year. Fun fact, 2 days after my 17th birthday. Both games are the same in essence, but there are quite a bit of some differences. One of the first differences is the engine. The original Ishin ran on the same engine used for Yakuza 5, 0, Kiwami, and Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise, while the remake ran on Unreal Engine 4. Another difference I'd say is the biggest one is the recasting of some characters, and I'm going to list a good few. I'll have a video by Devil Leon 7 in the description that has them all. Some examples are Takechi Hanpeta, who was played by and modeled after actor Katsunori Takahashi in the original, was replaced by the actor of Shibusawa from Yakuza 0, Hideo Nakano. Kondo Isami, who was played by and modeled after actor Eiichiro Funakoshi in the original, was replaced by the voice actor of Koichi Adachi from Yakuza Like a Dragon, Akio Otsuka. Ito Kashitaro, who was played by George Takahashi, the voice actor of Go Hamazaki from Yakuza 3, was replaced by actor Hitoshi Ozawa, the voice actor for Kuze from Yakuza 0. And we have Takeda Kanryusai, who was played by Shun Sagata, the voice actor of Hayashi from Yakuza 1 and 2, and the character was portrayed by Hayashi, was replaced by actor Riki Takeuchi, the voice actor and face model for Hiroki Awano from Yakuza 0. Another addition that was added in Ishin Kiwami was the Trooper cards. Now, there technically was Trooper cards in the original Ishin, but it was only in a companion app on the PS Vita, while the actual game did not have them. Ishin Kiwami, on the other hand, forced these things down your throat. I have a love-hate relationship with these. They're cool with their powers, but I'd rather not have them, which you don't have to use them. But Sega balanced your health around the Trooper cards, so if you upgrade your health, like via the skill tree, you don't get much but like 1 HP upgrade. But there is a trick, and I will let Mr. Snowiest Angman tell you.
A strat you can do if you don't want to use the cards but like having health is that you equip a bunch of cards into loadouts you won't use, and only equip one that has no cards in it, meaning that you don't have to see the dumb cards but still get the health buffs.
One more thing I want to add is that the original Ishin actually had an opening, and it featured the song Clock Strikes by One Ok Rock. But in Ishin Kiwami, the opening was cut out entirely. The likely reason was because Sega would have had to renew the license to use the song as the opening again, plus pay One Ok Rock extra to have it be used across multiple regions. So Sega said, nah, the remake don't need an opening, so they removed it entirely. Luckily, our good old friend Devil Leon 7 remade the opening with Ishin Kiwami's cutscene. I will leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. Ishin has already been brought to the West, so I don't think it's worth the trouble of playing the original, as both games are the same, just with some slight tweaks, so just play the remake unless you miss someone like Hamazaki, for example. Anyways, on to the next game. Here is another double entry. Now, this one is going to be a short entry, as obviously Yakuza 0 and Kiwami are available here in the West, but I decided to include these as these are technically the only versions of 0 and Kiwami only available in Japan. 0 on PS3 was released in Japan the same day as its PS4 counterpart on March 12th, 2015, while Kiwami was released on January 21st, 2016. Same day as its PS4 counterpart in Japan. Now, if you think you are missing out on these PS3 versions of Kiwami and 0, well, you're not. There is no major difference between the PS3 and PS4 versions of both games. The only difference is the shittier resolution and frame rates of the PS3 versions of this game, but this doesn't mean that these versions of the games are bad or unplayable on the PS3. Far from it. It actually runs really well on the PS3, again, just with the lower resolution and frame rate. I will say in the Japanese version of Yakuza 0, and I think it's for both the PS3 and PS4 version, is an upload save data menu option. That's actually for the Yakuza 0 companion app on the PS Vita, kind of like how Ishin had one. From what I've heard, 0 on the PS3 has received an English patch, and while that's cool, and these are great ports, don't get me wrong, again, you're not missing much with these, and the only reason people likely play it today is just for novelty purposes. There are better ways to play both games, especially since they are now on basically everything and in English, so yeah. But if you do play the PS3 ports of these games, respect to you nonetheless. Our last Japanese exclusive Yakuza game we will be going over is Ryoga Gotoku Online, or Yakuza Online. This game is a free-to-play gacha game of the Yakuza series available on PC, iOS, and Android. This game is basically the spiritual successor of RGG Mobile for Gree and Kizuna. This game focuses on card-based combat, and you can collect cards of characters both dead and alive. There are also 3 stories in this game. There's Ichiban's story, which is quite different to his story in Yakuza Like a Dragon, but I won't be going into it in this video. There is also Kiryu's story, which is just a retelling of Yakuza 1/Kiwami, story, and there is Ryuji Goda's story, which takes place in 1999, 6 to 7 years before the events of Yakuza 2. I don't know much about Ryuji's story in this game, but what I do know is that Ryuji gets expelled from the Goryu clan, and he gets his shit kicked in by Jin Goda, and I know that Jungi Han appears in his story too, but that's all I know. This game was released on November 21st, 2018, and I have played it before, but I never finished Ichiban's story. The chances of this game coming to the West is honestly quite low, as it's been out for almost 7 years now, and the developers stated that the reason they didn't bring it to the West was because they thought Western fans wouldn't like the gacha mechanics. Even though we have gacha mechanics in things like WWE 2K My Faction, but whatever. And they said that the game was more for the Japanese market and players. To be honest, I don't really care if this game gets localized or not. I'm not really into gacha games, so I could care less about it. But it would be kind of cool though, but I won't be begging RGG on my knees for them to bring it to the West. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed this little long form video, and I can't wait to do more Yakuza videos in the future. Other than that, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Adios.